Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. We've been getting a ton of questions about Bitcoin lately.
Yeah, seems like everyone's wondering what's next for the king of crypto.
Exactly. So today we're going to tackle those Bitcoin price predictions head on.
Oh, going right into the thick of it.
Absolutely. And to help us make sense of it all, we're turning to Elliott wave theory.
Ah, yes, trying to ride the waves of market psychology.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And to guide our deep dive, we've got this really interesting article from More Crypto Online on Binance Square. It lays out both the bullish and the bearish scenarios for Bitcoin. So we'll be covering both sides of the coin today.
Kind of love a balanced approach, right? Looking at the full picture.
Couldn't agree more. But before we get too deep into those predictions, for anyone just tuning in, could you give us a quick breakdown of what this whole Elliott wave theory is all about? I know it involves like waves and patterns, but
Yeah, it can seem kind of complex at first. Basically, the idea is that market psychology, like all those emotions of traders and investors, actually drives price movements in these predictable wave patterns.
okay, so those waves are like visual representations of how the market's feeling, basically.
Exactly. And by analyzing those patterns, we can get some clues about where the price might go next.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's not like some foolproof guaranteed prediction system, right?
Right. And the article actually makes that clear. They even have a disclaimer saying it's just, third-party opinions, not financial advice, and might include sponsored content. So take it all with a grain of salt.
Always a good reminder. Speaking of the article, it's called, let me see here, Bitcoin price, Elliott wave price update, understanding the bullish and bearish BTC scenarios.
Yeah.
Quite a mouthful. But let's start with the good stuff, shall we? That bullish scenario. What kind of future does it paint for Bitcoin?
Well, buckle up. They're talking about a potential surge driven by something called a Wave 5 extension. And get this, their analysis suggests Bitcoin could hit a price target somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000.
Wow, that's a pretty huge jump.
Yeah.
But do they give any hints about when this could actually happen?
Hmm. Not a specific time frame, unfortunately. But they do highlight a few factors that make this scenario plausible, at least according to their analysis.
Oh, like what? What's fueling this potential Bitcoin rocket ship?
One of the big things they point to is the growing involvement of institutional investors, those big players like hedge funds and investment firms.
Oh, yeah, we've definitely been seeing more of them dipping their toes into the crypto waters lately.
Exactly. And the article even mentions some recent data showing a big increase in Bitcoin holdings by those major firms. That, combined with growing mainstream acceptance and some countries even making Bitcoin legal tender, it's creating this wave of optimism, you could say.
Makes sense. More demand, higher prices, basic economics at play. But as we all know, the crypto world isn't always sunshine and rainbows, right? The article also explores the possibility of a less than ideal scenario, that dreaded bearish trend.
Yeah, they don't shy away from the potential for a downturn. They specifically mention a pattern called a descending triangle as a potential bearish signal.
Descending triangle sounds ominous. What exactly does that pattern suggest could happen?
According to the article, this pattern could point towards a drop, possibly down to around $25,000.
Yikes, that's a pretty steep fall from those bullish heights we were just talking about. So for all the Bitcoin holders out there, what kind of warning signs should they be watching for?
Well, the article mentions a couple of things. One is the potential impact of regulatory changes. Governments are still figuring out how to handle cryptocurrencies, and any sudden restrictive moves could send shockwaves through the market.
Yeah, that's always a looming uncertainty in the crypto space. Regulations can make or break things, it seems.
For sure. And then there's always the possibility of a major security breach or hack, which could really damage investor confidence.
Oh yeah, those are always scary headlines. It seems like even with all this sophisticated tech, there's still that vulnerability.
Well, unfortunately, yeah. It's something to keep in mind.
So we've got these two very different potential paths for Bitcoin's price. One heading for the moon, the other,
Well,
well, maybe not crashing, but definitely taking a tumble. I guess the key takeaway here isn't about trying to predict the future with 100% certainty, right?
right. It's about understanding that both scenarios are possible.
And why is that so important? What does that understanding actually give to someone who's, say, thinking about investing in Bitcoin or already holding some?
Think of it this way. If you're only focused on those big potential gains and haven't even considered the risks, you're way more likely to make impulsive decisions, especially if the market takes a sudden dip. Panic selling.
Ah, I see. Getting swept up in the hype or the fear, not thinking clearly.
Exactly. But if you've mentally prepared yourself for both scenarios, for the good and the bad, You're less likely to freak out and make those emotional decisions. You can approach it more rationally.
So it's about being a more level-headed investor, basically.
Absolutely. And that's crucial in a market as volatile as crypto.
Couldn't agree more. So even though we can't say for sure what's going to happen to Bitcoin's price, this Elliott wave theory, as laid out in this More Crypto Online article, at least gives us some food for thought, some potential scenarios to consider.
Definitely. It's a different way of looking at things through the lens of market psychology.
And it's a good reminder that whether we're talking about Bitcoin or any other investment, understanding both the upside and the downside is key to making smarter decisions.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've explored both the exciting possibilities and the potential pitfalls of Bitcoin's future, all through the fascinating lens of Elliott wave theory. And a huge thanks to More Crypto Online for providing such a thought-provoking analysis. But before we wrap things up, here's a final question for you to ponder. Now that you've seen both sides of the Bitcoin story, does this new knowledge change how you view the future of this cryptocurrency? What else would you want to explore based on what we've discussed today?